I want to share a tool with you to help you deal with your losses. It is called the grief cleanse. It is something that may not necessarily be exactly what you need right now, but trust me, a time will come when you will need tools like this to help you grieve a loss in your life. You could also share this with others who might be going through a season of loss to help them process what they're experiencing and what they're feeling and what they need to let out as they're going through that process. I just want to walk you through it. It's been a tool, a process I've used with, I would definitely say, with definite impact. The purpose of the grief cleanse is simply to help process loss. It's designed in such a way that it allows an avenue, a way for those feelings, that grief that may be locked up inside of you, to let it out. It releases pain as you go through it and as you allow grief to speak to you and to say what she or he wants to say. Matthew 5:4, I think, sets this up perfectly. You're blessed when you feel you've lost what is most dear to you. Only then can you be embraced by the one most dear to you. You're embraced by the one most dear to you when you feel your loss, when you feel the hurt and the pain from losses in life. It happened to me, and I believe that when we feel our loss, when we face our pain and we go down into that we can experience God's presence, God's relief, God's healing in our lives. Psalm 34:18, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted. He rescues those whose spirits are crushed. I think as we're able to face those losses and that grief, that we're met by the presence of God, the Lord who is close to us when we are brokenhearted. Well, what's the commitment to make the grief cleanse actually work? Well, you need some undisturbed time. And the classic grief cleanse is a 7-day process, 20 to 30 minutes per day. So you set aside this undisturbed time and you do it over a 7-day period. You could also then, what I did is I did a 7-day grief cleanse about 4 months after my wife Vicky died. And then I've done mini grief cleanses, just 1-day grief cleanses, 20, 30 minutes of going through these steps and finding a lot of help and a lot of comfort and a lot of healing. The tools you need are a journal and a pen, or you can use IT or tech solutions if you'd like to. You need the steps, which I'll give you, and you need a quiet place when you're with your phone in another room, perhaps. The posture is one of courage. You want to come to this facing your fear of what may be exposed, maybe the fear of the pain that you might feel or tears being shed. I would encourage you to exercise courage. Courage doesn't happen when you have no fear. It's in the face of fear that you exercise courage and faith, trusting that God is with you through the process and believing, having the hope that it's worth the time and the trouble and the pain to go through it, because the outcome is one of healing and of release. The 8 steps go simply like this. Step 1 is get quiet. Maybe practice some breathing. Just calm your insides so that you're ready for this process. Say a prayer, invite God into that. Just get quiet. Step 2, ask grief, will you come out and speak to me? So this is giving grief a face. It's giving grief a voice to speak to you and from its perspective. So you just want to set it up with this question: grief, will you come up and speak to me? But before you start writing, you go on to step 3, which is gauging your resistance. On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, this is the last thing I want to do, to 10, I can hardly wait to get started and find out what happens. Just write down your number. And if you're extremely resistant to this, you might want to even get curious about that. What is that about? Where is that coming from? And it may not be the right time for you to do this, or you may want to talk to somebody about it. But if you feel somewhat ready enough, then continue on. And this next question might even help you look at what's holding you back or what you're excited about. And this is, ask yourself, why do I want to do this? I had answers like, because I want deeper healing in my life, because I want to be able to experience life again. And there are other reasons, but those were just a couple. Ask yourself the why question. And then you're ready for step 5, where you ask that question again. Grief, will you come out and speak to me? And this is the bulk of your grief cleanse, bulk of the time, where you just, with your pen, write out what you hear grief saying to you in your journal, and go on for long enough until you feel like you've sort of completed that process. And then stop and ask yourself, step 6, what surprised me? What sort of dawned on me, or what revelation or aha moment happened as I wrote out these comments that grief was speaking to me about, and see what shows up. I was often surprised by some of the negative thoughts and some of the memories that were buried, and some of the things that maybe I hadn't fully processed in my past. Those came out in my grief cleanse, and it definitely surprised me. But I was willing, I had the courage just to put it down and not let anybody else read it, but just be curious about it, and inviting God into that process with my thoughts. And then you ask one more time, step 7, grief, is there anything else you'd like to say? And then you may write down a few more thoughts. And step 8, which is what I've added to the original the original 7 steps, is to just ask God, is there anything you'd like to say to me right now? So it's inviting the Lord into this space, into your grief cleanse, speak to you. And for me, it was often words of affirmation, words of loving support and encouragement. You know, I'm fond of you, and I am the Lord your healer, and words like that. But just let God speak to you as you sort of bring this grief cleanse to a close. And it's not a step, but I would say just end the grief cleanse with a word of thanks, a prayer of thanksgiving, that God has been with you, that he is with you on your difficult journey of grief. And he wants to continue to walk with you through that journey to the point of healing. A quote I just want to kind of end with as I wrap up this little video is a Turkish proverb that says, he that conceals his grief finds no remedy for it. I believe there's some wisdom in that. So I'm a big believer in exposing your grief so that you can find healing. Let me know how it goes. Try it on for size, and I look forward to hearing from you in the future. Have a great day.